You want a shout out for me and have more vids frequently? Then support me on Patreon, where the cost is only $3. Playing for the girl of your dreams is the most overused trope in sports-related episodes. It really pushes this alpha dog mentality between opponents, and it pushes the stakes to the moon. While it can be very easy to pull off on paper, in practice you need to have a way to make it more interesting and less obnoxious. This episode did not do that whatsoever. Good morning, everyone. My name is Jason Blade, and this is a Bat's closer look at regular shows Slam Dunk.
Which way am I gonna go? Which way am I gonna go? Stuffed again!
The episode starts with Mordecai and Rigby playing a basketball video game, where Mordecai continues to be the dominant player of the duo as he owns him. We also hear the phone ring, and Pops tells Mordecai that the phone call is for him. He forces Rigby to pause the game so he can get to the phone with a shove after Rigby ignores his request in doing so. When he goes to pick up the phone...
Hello?
Hey Mordecai, it's Margaret.
Oh no. We cut back to Rigby, who was taking advantage of the Blue Jays' hiatus and unpausing and getting some quick points before Mordecai returns. When Mordecai did come back, he lets Rigby know that Margaret called to ask Mordecai to help her build a website. When he frustratingly asked about going back to playing their game, it was already too late. Well, not even a minute in, and we already know this is going to be a Mordecai love interest episode, which equals to nothing but pain. For those who don't know, Margaret is Mordecai's first love interest in the series, and episodes focusing on winning her heart in the early seasons were pretty frustrating to watch at times. One of my biggest problems with these episodes is that there is little development for Margaret in the early seasons and is mainly treated as eye candy when she is seen on screen. The start of this episode is no different, with us only hearing her say who she is. And that's it! We don't even see her, let alone see what she wants. All we got out of this is Mordecai is tasked to make a website for her, which leads into another tangent. What website is she trying to make? From what I know of her, it could be a blog of some kind, since we learned later that her goal was to pursue a career in journalism. But the show gives us nothing, not even a crumb, to find out what is interesting about Margaret as a character. And since when did Mordecai know how to make a website? You know what, I'm just gonna continue.
Muscle Man has the computer for the whole day. What? He's not even here. He's playing basketball. Boom, shakalaka!
We get to the office, and Rigby continues to show his frustration with Mordecai's latest attempt to impress Margaret. Rigby informs Mordecai that he can't even use the computer because Muscle Man signed up to use the computer for the entire day. Mordecai gets peeved as he sees Muscle Man playing basketball instead of using the computer, so he decided to use it anyway. So when he boots it up...
What are you doing?
Bro, he is fast. Muscle Man was upset with Mordecai getting on the computer, signifying the sign-up sheet he signed for the day. Mordecai tries to state his case, but Muscle Man didn't want to hear it. So the boys left the room, only to see Muscle Man back on the court again. Mordecai was already fed up and got back on the computer once again to try...
Did I not make myself clear?
Bruh, he is one of those co-workers. Mordecai was not willing to back down as he challenged Muscle Man and Five to a basketball game, and the winner gets the computer rights for a week. Alright, this is a prime example of a dumb alpha mentality. This is pretty fitting for Muscle Man considering that is what he is. However, for Mordecai, it doesn't make a lot of sense to go for this wager. First off, you do know that the computer is for everyone in the workplace. Plus, I would assume that you have to get the rights to use the computer from Benson, your boss. I don't think he and the other employees would appreciate you giving all the precious computer time to Muscle Man. Second, there is a good chance that there are other options here to get that website done, like going to a library or any public space that you can use the computer. It's not ideal, but it is something. Better yet, call Margaret. Ask if she would like you to come over to do it, and you could teach her a few things about making a web page so you two can start oh, I don't know, an actual relationship that can start blossoming into something more? One more thing, is it a web page or a website? Because those two options are completely different. A web page is like the link to the video you're watching now on YouTube. A website is the entirety of YouTube. Even then, it takes more than a day to get this task done. Heck, when I made a website for my class in college, it took me a good month to get it done on Wix, and it's pretty dang basic. I know it's a nitpick within the script itself, but it shows how lazy the episode feels to me because it leaves so much more questions than answers.
Alright, ladies, why don't you go first? Check, mate.
We cut over to the basketball court and we get a solid montage of the game. We see how Muscleman and High Five's chemistry and skill level is so much better compared to Mordecai and Rigby's. I enjoy this one because it gives great interactions between the characters and expresses the type of playstyles that are in play during this game. Though Mordecai and Rigby's game is less of a playstyle and more of a struggle. The clear difference is really the experience comparing the two teams. Muscleman and Five even go out of their way to push Mordecai and Rigby around, as Muscleman and High Five Ghost took the win with relative ease. We then hear a bell ring as Margaret is driving by. Oh my god. Why? Why did they do this? This is the reason why I can't take Margaret seriously as a character. All she is being used for is just to be useless eye candy and make people question whether or not they're furries. And she isn't even all that hot. For whatever reason, she doesn't get overly sexualized until the plot calls for it, like this shot here. Literally no episode focused on her butt before this one. Her butt was flatter than a pancake before this shot right here. Episodes like this annoy the crap out of me because it pushes the objectification of women. There's no building of character in this episode for Margaret, and it's just a crappy plot device for Mordecai to fight for something. And even then, he's not fighting for the girl. He's fighting for a tool that may or may not help him get the girl. You can make this episode not about Margaret. It could be about a new edition of the game they were playing earlier in this episode, and it's only available by pre-order. Like, make this episode about trying to get the computer to buy a PS5. Is that still a problem? I don't really play on console.
Whatever, Grandpa. If you want to waste your time, that's your business. I got 3 years of computer time I need to start using. Come on, Fives. Let's go check the weather report.
So after that lovely view, Mordecai wanted to up the ante, this time for 2 months of computer rights. So they play again, aka they speed up the previous montage they played and gave us different angles of the ball going in. So after eating another L, Mordecai gets frustrated and said that basketball sucks, kicking the ball away. That is what starts this episode's supernatural occurrence. The ground shakes as everything went dark and the moon gets covered in a trail of lights that made it look like a basketball. It then opens up and we see a flashy car come out of the moon looking extremely decked out with shiny basketball bling. When the door opens, a mysterious basketball god figure comes out completely displeased and asks Mordecai to repeat what he just said. Of course, Mordecai shrivels up in fear and took back what he said. So this being tells Mordecai the only reason he doesn't like the game is because he doesn't know how to play. Muscleman tells his god that both of them are a lost cause. Understatement of the century. But the dude boasts that he is the greatest coach that ever lived and he can teach anyone. Muscleman scoffed at this notion and didn't care about the situation, calling it a waste of time. The coach was ready to prove him wrong as he was ready to teach Mordecai and Rigby how to properly play basketball. This was a really cool introduction to today's insane shenanigans that occur. Though it didn't take much for this powerful being to appear with simply showing a distaste for basketball. The design for the coach was pretty interesting as it kind of reminded me of a lanky version of Foul Larry from the special of Foster's Good Will's Hunting, but with a giant fro. I really like the moon opening up like an electric roof from a stadium, which I always find pretty cool in real life. I think it was a great way to introduce a character that is willing to help out the two, even if it doesn't make sense why. I guess he was trying to flex his coaching skills or something? I don't know, this episode hasn't made much sense at this point. Side note, when did Muscleman earn 2 years of computer rights? Did they play a game during the epic introduction of the coach? You can't just throw random phrases around like this because it leaves more questions than answers. It gives the sense that the writing of this episode took the back burner. So once again, another montage ensues. Jeez, how many do we need for this episode? At least this time, it is a comedic training montage as the two completely fail each task. I think it was a nice pattern of them doing a stretch, then showing how bad they mess up a certain task in between those sequences. Plus, the music they used in this montage fits so well with the wackiness being shown, having Mordecai and Rigby losing the ball, hurting themselves, and destroying nearby property. The coach was in disbelief at how bad the two of them are and starts dissing their skill level. However, he didn't want to be seen as a failure, so he decided to give Mordecai and Rigby the basketball powers. I do have a genuine problem with the coach after the montage. Reminder, a coach is supposed to be seen as a teacher and an overall leader of the players on the team. The Coaching 101 Survival Guide should tell you that you should never in your life tell someone that they shouldn't play the game you're coaching, no matter what age. I don't know why he expected that they would learn how to be competent players in just a couple of hours. A lot of people spend the early stages of practice to get some of the little things correct. Things like dribbling, passing, and free throws in this example. Telling someone that they're the worst player of all time in a particular sport as a coach should get you fired on the spot. As the greatest coach who ever lived, you should know that patience is a virtue. There's no such thing as a quick fix, and he should know that. So I feel with the basketball powers he grants, that's why he gets the title Best Coach. Although I think even that was a self-given title. I knew people who drive decked out cars are complete tools.
I don't know if I have the energy to see how bad that old man trained you. If I'm gonna get out of this seat, you're gonna have to make it worth my time.
Computer rights for life.
So the boys barged into the office to challenge Muscle Man one last time. Muscle Man did not want to budge unless the stakes are worth going out to play. Mordecai did just that by playing for computer rights for life. One game, winner takes all. So even if one of them gets fired, they can still use the computer, which seems completely fair, I guess. Muscle Man matches the rules of the game to the stakes given out by making it a 1st to 21 street rules match. So when the game starts, Mordecai and Rigby use their newly acquired skills to the max as they use a variety of all-star-like moves to get a hefty lead. So far, the start of this game is more of my style of basketball montages. The funky beat being used as Mordecai and Rigby own the court is extremely fitting to the style of play being seen. The moment feels like gameplay from NBA Jam. It's so over the top and fits well with the aesthetic of regular show as a whole.
Dudes, Fives is hurt.
Dude, get up.
Hey bro, you just took out my teammate.
Muscle Man knew something was up with how well the two were playing, so he tells Five to take a dive for a plan. When Five takes the fall, Muscle Man got to choose anyone in the park to be his new teammate, so he decided to choose the coach to be his new partner. Even to the boys' dismay, the coach had to oblige because it is fair to have an even amount of players. He also gave Muscle Man basketball powers as well to really even the playing field.
Bro,
We pick things back up and the two sides have been dishing each other a variety of dunks, especially the coach who went on a parade of back-to-back dunks. It's really nice to see how much creativity was put into a lot of these. You can appreciate being able to see a variety of windmills, alley-oops, and reversals where it is intense and fun to view. Witnessing the coach take over really emphasizes his importance in making the game spicy as he showed his grace on the court. Though I would have loved to see more variety of plays than dunks since basketball is a lot more than that, but having this showboating playstyle from both teams matches the Outworld experience. We found out after the montage that Muscle Man and Coach need one more basket to win the game. Rigby couldn't believe the position they were in, and Muscle Man really let him know how he feels about the two. With only a few possessions left in the game, we hear the song "Hey Man, Nice Shot" by Filter, as Mordecai and Rigby make it to game point as well with another flashy alley-oop dunk. The coach then started to up the ante as his dribbling skills became so hot the ball catches on fire. It didn't stop Mordecai from taking the ball, and the two shot up into space. Muscle Man and Rigby follow suit. Mordecai and Rigby try to keep the ball away as they pass it along with each other, until Muscle Man got a hand on it trying to pull it away from Rigby. This caused the coach to try and help, and it left Mordecai open for a score. So Rigby tossed it to him, and it was a race to the finish. As Rigby walked the other two, Mordecai was able to finish the game with an explosive dunk. The peak of this episode is so much fun to see. Witnessing the insanity happen during this game as it traveled to space was such a wonderful viewing pleasure. Hey Man, Nice Shot is not a song that I would attach to a basketball game, but it does fit this final battle scene very well. The color strips along the characters are a classic to show the amount of power each player has. The final portion where they come down like comets was an epic way to end a wild game, and that's just a prime example of how crazy episodes can get with these outer world events happening. So when the boys realize the game is over, Mordecai and Rigby celebrate as they earn the computer for life. The coach came in to congratulate them on a good game, and the boys thanked him for the kind words. Muscle Man was obviously salty for the loss and complained about the coach's defense. Even though the coach was trying to help him realize how good the game was, Muscle Man didn't want to hear it. After a fat joke from him, we see Margaret meet up with Mordecai and acknowledge how good he played. He tried to play up the compliment by transitioning to the website he was going to help her with, but
Oh, my website? That was 2 months ago, but it's okay. Eileen finished it for me.
Coach did let Mordecai know that time really speeds up in space. But on the bright side, she did call Mordecai hot. And that was slam dunk. A decent end to an overall fun episode to watch. However, this episode does have a variety of problems. As I mentioned before, there was no need for Margaret to be placed in this episode here. She was used as nothing more than a sexualized plot device throughout it, much like previous episodes prior to this one. There were plenty of options they could have used to move the plot along, like wanting to use a computer for a pre-order of a new basketball game I mentioned. The coach as a character has his ups and downs. My main issue is that the coach isn't really a good coach with how he berates Mordecai and Rigby's skill level and telling them to not play basketball. No coach would ever do that in any sport. Finally, in the nitpicky category, the writing is a bit of a mess if you paid attention to it. Using webpage and website interchangeably didn't really sit well with me. The basketball montages in the beginning were alright, even though there were a lot for an episode. The first one did a good job showing a variety of moves and a playstyle fit for Muscle Man and High Five. The training montage was easily my favorite to view because of the variety of exercises and fails that was placed into it. And the final game showed a lot of imagination into the super-powered basketball skills, especially giving a serious callback to the game NBA Jam. If you'd want to watch a wacky, over-the-top episode focused on basketball, then Slam Dunk can for sure be your calling. Thank you for taking the time to see this Bat's Closer Look. Click on the video to the right to see more and subscribe for the latest. You can send your take about this episode in the comments section below. Until then, good afternoon, good evening, and good night.